Welcome back to the channel. Well, it's the day when I'm riding my new Hornet SP. This is the first ride I've done on this bike, so I'm really excited. I picked it up Friday. Actually, the guys from Farnham Honda dropped it down to me on Friday. I had it ceramic coated on Saturday. It's now Tuesday and I'm doing my first ride. This is the first time I've ridden the SP Hornet, my own one, which I've bought. So if you're interested in the Hornet SP and you want to hear my sort of first impressions riding this, then this could be the video for you. So set yourselves down, make yourself comfortable, and Chopsy, roll the intro. So initial impressions of the bike is the suspension feels quite firm. Now it was about 6 weeks ago, I suppose, when I rode the standard version. This is my first ride on the SP, of course, and it does feel quite firm, the suspension. Of course, I've got the this Alcantara seat, like the sports seat, which is firmer. The foam is firmer on this, and I can feel the seat does feel quite firm. But we'll see how we get on. The stylemas actually seem really good. I was a little bit worried that the brakes might not actually offer the same amount of feel as the Nissan setup on the standard bike, but even though this bike's got 5 miles on it, you know, they're actually biting quite nicely. The rear's not doing much, but like I say, we are bedding in. But the road, look at the state of the roads. They're covered in salt. Absolutely covered in salt. I've just got to try and avoid any wet patches. But I mean, this is why I had the bike ceramic coated, so hopefully when we get back it's going to be filthy, but it will all just wash off, and the bike is protected. So we'll go into a bit of the ceramic coating. I have got a whole video coming on that, as I said, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we get on. I've noticed the mirrors are not very good if you've got big wide shoulders, but you know, they're actually pretty decent looking mirrors on this, I have to say. But I'll probably be fitting some bar ends to it at some point. But yeah, the actual sort of feel of the bike, the riding position, you're a little bit locked in, as I said before, especially if you're a big fatty like me, and I can sort of feel a bit of the seat cowl sort of just touching my bum. But I think you'll be able to move left and right over the bike okay, for sort of hanging off and stuff. I've got to be a little bit careful. I haven't got the tank pad on. I want to get some easy grips on the side of the tank to actually, you know, protect from scratches and stuff, but I haven't got any of that on it yet, so I'm being careful not to grip the tank too tight for fear of putting any scratches on it. But you know, hopefully with that ceramic coating, some where the indicators were, they're really where the horn needs to be. With that ceramic coating, it will provide a little bit of scratch resistance, not much, but a little bit, you know. Not as good as PPF. A lot of people have said, oh, you're gonna PPF it. Quick shifter, not tried that before. Yeah, nice. So now you can adjust the sort of kill times on the quick shifter, and you can tune it for sort of aggressive. Well, that feels quite nice. Just watch this fella. I don't want to be taken out on the maiden voyage of my new motor bicycle. But so far, I say I've been going 6 miles or so. I'm very happy so far, but it's early days. There is loads of feel sort of coming through the tarmac. Whew. That's what I like about this machine. I mean, a lot of people saying, oh, it looks a bit cheap, all the rest of it, but what I think separates this bike from its competitors is the amount of feedback you get through the tarmac. Now of course the SP's got the Öhlins rear shock on it, so I may get, you know, the suspension set up. Well, I certainly need to get all the sag set up for my weight on this to get it, you know, running in the stroke as best as possible. We could find, you know, if I want to get it, because I really want to do a few track days on this bike, because what I said, you know, what I really want is a naked bike I can do track days on. So, you know, a fast, composed, comfortable naked for track days. You know, I was going to get a Super Duke. I did think about getting a 1390 Super Duke, But you know, it's a lot more money. You can get them for about 15 grand now, the standard one, not the Evo, but that's still £5,000 more expensive than the Hornet. And I would say, you know, the Super Duke probably is a better bike. I mean, it's early days to say that yet, but I'd say the Super Duke is probably, you know, a better naked machine than this. But is it worth £5,000 extra? And then of course you've got all the uncertainties around KTM to worry about, with you know, and resale as well, because you spend 15 grand on that and then KTM goes under, which is still possible, you know, then your 15 grand motorcycle then becomes worth whatever anyone's willing to pay for a bike, which you may not be able to get any spares for anymore. So that's just too risky, unfortunately. And you know, obviously that's going to really hurt KTM trying to get up and running again. But you know, it's facts, isn't it? As I'm running it in, I'm going to change the quick shifter's a little bit, tiny little bit lurchy there. I need to go in and see what the settings are. It seems quite a slow shift, so I might better make that more aggressive. Just as I'm running it in and I want to keep everything smooth, I'm going to do manual downshifts and upshifts on the clutch for the minute. So this Hornet for £10,000, in my view, and I honestly think it's the bargain of the century, if I'm absolutely honest. I'm just going to change the mode. Look what we got set. Let's go for standard while we're running it in. I think it's the absolute bargain of the century, and I almost think Honda in the UK this is, because I know the price of this varies in different markets, and some people have said in some markets this is actually more expensive than the GSX S 1000, but the UK market, this bike, I think they've underpriced it. I think they could have charged more for this quite easily and it still would have been worth the money. So yeah, I do think Honda's I don't know quite why they've gone in at 10 grand, because it's just, obviously they want to shift a few units, and they will shift some units at £10,000, but I'm sure they could have got another couple of grand, especially for the SP version. But there we go, it's priced as it's priced, and I'm certainly not complaining when I'm buying it with my own money. You can get one of these for about £118 a month on PCP. £118 a month! I mean, that's just incredible, isn't it? £118 a month for 155 horsepower naked with Olin shock and Stylema calipers. I think that's with just a £2,000 deposit as well. So yeah, Honda are onto a winner with this, but I think they could have actually charged more. But yeah, I'm not moaning. I'm certainly not moaning. Yeah, there's a good amount of bite there. I was a bit afraid that the brakes might be sort of subpar, and I'm sure if you're going on track, we all know sort of Honda ABS can be a little bit sort of intrusive and stuff. Afternoon, sir. So I guess that's the test, isn't it? What's it going to be like when you get it on track? And we will see, because I will be taking this on track. But it's one of those bikes that just makes you want to go fast on it, and that's what I love about it. It's definitely a rider's bike. You know, it's a bike that encourages you to open the throttle and get on the gas, push it around the corners, and even though I'm sort of running it in, I'm still sort of can't help myself but to get a little bit of a lick on. I don't think it's a bike you can ride slowly on that easily. I think what Honda's done, because they've geared it so well, I mean normally, I mean the old CB1000s and a lot of the Honda models in the past, they really tend to put really tool gearing on the bike, and it really sort of affects the way the bikes accelerate and stuff. But with this, they've geared it, they've got some short, I think first, second and third are like really short, and you can really notice it because it's really punchy. You know, for a straight four, it's punchy out the corners, and it's because they've got the gearing right. So finally Honda are listening, and they've got the gearing set properly. And yeah, I can really tell that, you know, even part throttle, keeping everything under 6 grand, it's still fast. You still make really good progress. "21 miles range, and we've got to get to Winchester to get some fuel." I'm actually meeting Mossy. I'm doing a bit of a few videos with Mossy, so I'm meeting him in Salisbury to do a bit of a video. Not to do with the Hornet, it's actually to do with the GSA. But I thought, if I'm going all the way to Salisbury, That's going to be a 100-mile round trip. That's the first 100 miles on the bike. Does it feel any different to the standard one? Like, can I tell any difference? Not without riding them back to back. Like I say, it was 6 weeks ago I rode the standard one. It doesn't really feel any different. If anything, it perhaps feels a little bit firmer. We're going to do a comparison. English biker Dan has bought the standard Hornet, as you may have seen on some of these videos, and as soon as this is run in, we're going to do a comparison and yeah, see how the SP compares back to back riding it with the standard one. I honestly don't think there's going to be too much difference. You might get it might be a bit nicer, the rear shock, and you get a bit more support over the bumps. The Öhlins kit is normally really nice, isn't it? So you might get a bit more of that, but I don't think it's going to be much difference. The brakes feel good on the... They're actually getting better and better all the time, those style levers, actually saying that. And I'm really pleased, because I was a bit worried the SP brakes might not be as good as the Nissan on the standard. But because sometimes, you know, they can make them feel a little bit wooden, Japanese brakes, but they've got a nice bit of bite actually. I'm pretty impressed with that. I was thinking of changing the master cylinder, but you know what, we'll see how we get on. But at the moment that's feeling absolutely fine. I mean, it's not brakes like you'll find on a Ducati. You know, it's got rubber hoses, you know, it's got the Honda ABS system. There's a lot of gubbins on those brake lines, but it's better than I thought it was going to be. It's going to take me about an hour to get to Salisbury, so that'll be a good little test of the seat as well, won't it? See how my body holds up. I can tell already, I can feel my ass a little bit now. This seat is way too hard, I think. But I mean, again, you've got to break it in, haven't you? Once it's bedded in a little bit. And some of the other comments I've heard people say is they prefer a firmer foam on their seat, because if it's too soft, you just go straight through it and you can then feel like the plastic under trimmings of the seat. But if it's firmer, you've got a bit more support without touching the sort of the plastic under tray the seat is made from. So, which is all good points, but I just think it needs a little bit more bedding in. Oh, so struggling to get it down through the box. When I'm going downshift, it's been a little bit reluctant. It's probably just because it's so new. I mean, probably need to check the chain adjustment as well, which I haven't done. Just try not to labour the engine too much and keep it revving a little bit. So it's the first 18 miles. The first 100 miles, I think, is what's most critical with the running in. I have done a video on how to run in your new bike. I did it on the GX last year, so if you want to see sort of my tips on how to run in your new bike, have a look at the vid. I mean, there's a bit of a minefield, isn't it, running in bikes? Everyone's got it's a bit like arseholes, isn't it? Everyone's got one. Everyone's got an opinion on how you run in a motorcycle. But I'm a great believer in sort of bedding it in gently, you know, at least for the first 100 miles, just to get everything settled. Yesterday I heat cycled it, so I started it up, left it idling for the fan to come on twice, and then turned it off, so it's like an initial sort of heat soak of the engine and cool down. And like I say, and this is the first ride, which I'm probably going to do about 100 miles today, probably about 50 miles, then we'll stop, have the chat with Mossy, and another 50 miles to get home. So I would have cracked out the first 100 miles of the run-in, just 500 to go. I don't think it really matters. You could probably just run it in and ride it however you like, and I don't think, probably wouldn't make any difference. But I think it's half the fun of having a new bike, to be honest. Struggling to get the first a little bit there. I think it's half the fun. You get a new bike, you want to treat it well, don't you? That's the whole point of why you buy a new machine and not a second-hand bike, in my view. Because you want to do it how you want to do it, and not how someone else has done it. So that's one of the beauties of having a new bike, is going through the running in, you know, doing it how you want to do it, so you've got that peace of mind that you've done it properly. And I like that. I don't know, is that just me being a bit sad? But I think it's one of the highlights of having a new machine. Now, it is a bit of a ball ache, of course, because, you know, you get a new bike, all you want to do is open it up and see how quick it is. Of course you do. But there's plenty of time for that. Just do the first 600, take it easy, or the first 100. You can start to slowly increase the revs a little bit, I reckon, after the first 100 or so miles. But this is going to be quite a hard bike to run in, because it's, as I say, it's a real rider's machine. It's quite sporty feeling, and it's one of those bikes that sort of makes you want to go fast, which, you know, may not be the best bike for me really. I've always tried to avoid bikes like that. That's why I've never bought a Tuono, because I find that on the Tuono you can't go slow on it. Going back to the ceramic coating again, I know there's a lot of people asking a lot of questions about that. What if it's got self-cancelling indicators? No, don't think so. You know, it's not a fix for everything, you know, and I think it's like anything, ceramic coating, it's a bit like, you know, no one really, go on mate, you know, there's different products, there's people apply it in different ways, you know, so it's one of those things. I think it really depends on what products the people are using, who's doing it, are they doing it properly. When you'll see in the video I've got coming, the attention to detail from Pete, you know, strip it, even taking off the exhaust system, a lot of the panels, you know, incredible attention to detail from Pete. I want super, we need super for the baby. But yeah, the attention to detail from Pete on the way he sort of done everything and coated everything is quite amazing. See, already look, we're getting towards the edge of the tyres, just zipping around. Oh, scratching that already, look. That's annoying. There's little marks on the tank there already, look, from my jacket. That's already, we've got little marks on the tank. You see that? Tiny little marks. That's quite annoying, isn't it? Premium juice. Guys, tiny little filler. What the hell? Oh, it's spraying everywhere now. Got petrol all over the matte paint now. That's a horrible little filler. Oh my god, it's gone again. The ceramic coating isn't chemically sealed until 7 days, so I'm not up to the 7 days yet. I've got petrol over it already, but that filler's horrible. There we go, I've got it in the hole better now and go a bit faster with it, but it's a tiny little hole and there's something right underneath the hole, so yeah, got to be careful. There we go. Oh, more fuel splashed over it. Oh, pack it in, will you? I can tell you now, this matte paintwork is going to be a nightmare. Even after being ceramic coated, I think it's going to be a nightmare for sort of maintaining the finish. I think really you can forget about it. I'm just going to sort of think, well, if it gets all scratched and damaged, I'll just get it painted gloss black, because it's going to be a nightmare. The paint is going to be a nightmare. So I made it to the pub. We've just done a little bit of GSA videoing with Mossy, had a nice bit of lunch, and then got to head home now. It's about 4:30, it's starting to get really cold. Hopefully it's not going to get damp, so I don't want to get too much salt on the bike. You can see there's a fine layer of salty dust over the whole bike from the road salt, so I'm going to have to rinse it all off and wash it to get that horrible salt off the bike. Also, the chain is really slack, really slack, so that's why I'm struggling with the gearbox a little bit. Yeah, so a successful afternoon. First, we've done 52 miles, so we're going to be the first 100 miles on the bike by the time we get home, and so far I'm absolutely loving it. I think this matte paintwork is going to be an absolute ball ache, and even with the ceramic coating to offer some level of protection, so, you know, it's not by PPF, it's not going to stop scratches, but it's going to keep corrosion, or it's going to make it slightly easier, but it's still going to be a ball ache. We'll see how we get on with it, you know. That's all you can do, isn't it? I can see myself in a year's time probably ended up getting all the panels, get it all painted, get it all done in gloss black, which I wish it was gloss black anyway, but I can see that happening. Gritty. But yeah, I'm really happy. I'm very happy with this bike. I say it's quite firm, but it is a sports bike. This is a proper sports naked. You know, this is set up to be sporty and it is quite firm, you know, especially on this bumpy little back lane. You know, I can really feel what the tarmac is doing, you know. It's not too uncomfortable. Trevor got to go here left, but it's, you know, it's firm, it's sporty, which I like, you know. It's not a half-assed attempt at being sporty. This is properly sporty, and I can tell it's just going to handle lovely when things warm up a little bit more and there's less grit all over the road. I think I'm going to really be able to throw this around, and also on track as well. I can't wait to get it on track. I think me and Dan, English Biker Dan, are going to do a track day, probably Brands Hatch. You know, we'll do a Brands Hatch track day on these bikes and see how they handle on track. Perhaps we'll even swap on each other's bikes just to see if you notice anything extra with the braking from the SP, or a bit more refinement with the Öhlins rear shock. I don't think so. To be honest, I like the SP because you've got the gold forks, you've got the gold wheels, and if it was gloss black, it would be absolutely perfect. Gloss black bike with gold wheels, gold forks. That's what I like, and I like the gold forks. You know, the standard bike just has like silver fork tubes, doesn't it? I think it looks much better. A bit of gold bling. You can't beat a bit of gold bling. I'm really looking forward to the season ahead with this bike. So, you know, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, because there's going to be loads of Hornet content this year. Last year, or I think it was a year before, we did a group test with the GSS 1000, the old CB1000, the one which didn't handle particularly well, and the MT10, and the MT10 sort of trounced the competition, really. You know, it was much more engaging bike to ride. Well, I think the MT10 has got a bit of competition now in this bike, because of the way it handles, because of the gearings all adjusted. I don't think it's going to be an absolute trouncing from the MT10, and I wouldn't be surprised maybe if the Hornet comes out on top, but we'll see. We'll see. Oh, I can't get down for the gear. Oh, that chain is, come on, just getting worse and worse changing gear because of that chain tension. That's really annoying. I'm 50 miles away from being able to adjust the chain. So if you are interested in the Hornet, don't forget to subscribe, all that jazz, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.